Welcome back, fellow armchair generals, and this is Gamer 1745 here. We're playing, of course, Hearts of Iron 3 and looking at all of the events with our war. Currently only at war with Japan, though that may be changing soon. Eventually we're European, says you. Okay, yes. Looking at the Declaration of United Nations, that none of these nations committed to make a separate peace out of the war. So China wouldn't peace out, like for, if Japan wanted to give up a bunch of territory and give Japan or China, peace with it. China wasn't going to accept that and let Japan just fight on against the Western Allies or the Soviet Union. Germany wasn't just going to like, hey guys, yeah, oops, we're sorry, we really didn't mean to invade you. That was just an accident. Can we go back to pre-war borders and have peace? Russia's committing not to do that, and then to fight off the Allies, or vice versa. Germany wasn't going to be allowed, and I'll get to why this is important in a moment. Because there's historical precedent for it. Wasn't going to be able to go, hey guys, yeah, we'll give up all of France, all of the Netherlands, all of Belgium, all of Norway, all of Denmark. Just let us fight the Soviet Union, and we'll see about doing something someday about Poland, maybe, and have the Western Allies go, yeah, good, you go take care of the Soviet Union, because we don't like the Soviet Union either. Let's see, what are they saying? They were making a joke. Yeah. Prolonged the war. That prolonged the war quite a bit. No, because this is not the later announcement that only unconditional surrender. This was a non-separate peace. This is a different deal. This is not the Casablanca or whatever conference, I forget which one it was, in which they said unconditional warfare that may be considered prolonging the war. This is not that. That's a different one, Ragar. They might change the name to United China after they get Taiwan. Well, that would be, they should change it beforehand as an excuse to get Taiwan Starstreak if they do United China. And of course Taiwan and Singapore are part of it, and any place else we can think of that there's a Chinese person, but yeah, and we can talk about that, and we probably will at some point, but I'm not going to go into the unconditional surrender and did it extend the war longer. That's a different thing. Now, to give another story, okay, you've all heard of the French Revolution. At least I presume all of my viewers have heard of the French Revolution. Now, there's multiple reasons for why the French Revolution happened. There had been, of course, lots of revolts around Europe for many, many years. But the first real and some of them were sort of like in England back in the late Middle Ages, sort of leveling revolts, and they were specifically called levelers. They wanted to get rid of, it wasn't communistic as far as I can tell. It was just at least getting rid of the idea of nobility and kings. And maybe the idea of getting rid of landlords, or, for not so much a landlord as in a guy who rents a few apartments in a building that he personally owns and lived in, but the idea of great landowners, break them up to give all the peasants their little square areas of land themselves. Not that they all had to be the same size. It wasn't, at least from my readings, it was just get rid of the massive landholders, which is sort of breaking up the aristocracy. Sort of goes in hand to hand. So, but there's been those kinds of things in Europe forever. But the French Revolution was sort of special. And why? And there's multiple reasons why it happened in France, where it doesn't happen in Spain or in Austria or in Prussia. There's different reasons there, but Spain, I would say, was more of a and decadency is an interesting term, and people often think of, lavish parties, but just and wealth inequality. And I people get on and on about, hey, thanks, Arno. Macau. Well, they've already got Macau and Hong Kong, so Macau, they have both of those. Macau is even more integrated than Hong Kong into China now. Talk about wealth inequality. I personally, and a lot of people talk about that today, I have no concerns over wealth inequality. I have concerns about people's standard of living. Okay, if we talk about, their standard of living is so bad, and there's these other people within that same society, because they're different societies. We're not going to compare the standard of living in Africa versus America, because Africa is a shithole, corrupt society, worse than many, many other places. So they're not ever going to be comparative to like America or Europe. So different societies. We got to talk about wealth inequality within a society, not wealth inequality between societies. Those are different things. So don't, what about people over somewhere? No, we're talking about in like the first world here at the moment. I'm not concerned over wealth inequality. I'm concerned over basic standards of living. If they're reasonably decent, if they're considered, and trust me guys, as I've said before, I'm sort of independently poor. Okay, I got budgets. I got to watch them. Can't spend too much money. But I live a nice life. I got a nice computer. I got a car. Got a nice apartment. But I'm not well off, for sure. Now I'm well off compared to somebody living in Africa, certainly, but not in my society. So it's not like, oh, gamer, you've made it. These other people are struggling. Well, trust me, I'm struggling too. So long as the basic standard of living I can look at and go, yeah, that's okay. I don't care how rich how wealthy the 1% or whatever it is, and they have private jets and flying cars, and I don't care about wealth inequality. I care about basic standards of living. But we could look at Spain and society backwardness, including, the really, in 1780s, 1790s, there really isn't much industrialization, but there is some. There has been some for 100 plus years. Spain is very sort of backwards, and Spain has gotten rich because of its colonies in Latin America and other places, much more so than in France. France is definitely making money out of the sugar colonies in the Caribbean and have other colonies around, absolutely, but Spain much, much more so. And so Spain as a society in the late 18th century, the elites are much more well off than the poor people, but the elites are mostly getting rich off of the colonies, if you will, not, they are sucking it out of the civilization around them, but not as much. I know we're on the French Revolution and why this stuff. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why the French Revolution happens. Now, including leadership, including Louis XVI. He was a vacillating monarch. Probably overstate that in some degree, but some of the writers. But we definitely see him as such, and he is. And so I really do believe that structural, or that personalities are as important, if not possibly more important, than structural realities. The structure of the society and the industry and the infrastructure. Those are all very important, but I am very much on personalities. But what really, in my opinion, and people talk about it, is why there's the French Revolution is because of the American Revolution. Partially, and I would say a small part of it, is just because the American Revolution happens and the ideas of liberty. But what really happens, the real reason it sort of causes it, is France goes all in on supporting the Americans in the revolution, because France has lost several wars. to the English, including the 7 Years' War, and in America it's called the French and Indian War, which has a little bit earlier and later start dates, I believe, or something, because there are some local issues here. And France is lost. They've lost Quebec, they've lost a lot of stuff. So France wants to break up the British Empire. They don't, realistically, because I'm sure you can find somebody thinking that they're going to maybe end up with colonies that are here. No, realistically, no, they're not going to get in any of these colonies. They just want to break it up. And then, of course, hopefully, instead of being a monopoly trading with, because there was mercantilism in which the American colonies could not trade with France or Spain. They could only trade with Britain, and then Britain could trade with France or Spain. So, trade whatever, if you want to import from something that's made in France, you had to import it from England. So, the stuff would be imported to England, paid whatever tariffs, and then sent to the Americans. If you want to export something that may end up in France, it first has to be sold to a English merchant, and then sold to a, pay the import taxes, and then sold into France. So there was no direct trade to basically anywhere, legally speaking. We're not talking, did it happen? We're talking, what the legal situation was. Well, so France goes in, and Spain and the Netherlands goes into a war with Britain over this, because they see this as a chance of breaking up the British Empire to some degree. Now, the Americans are fighting mostly without any French land support, but the Southern campaign starts off well for the British. They come down. Cornwallis does a really good lightning sort of campaign around really disrupting things. Eventually, Washington is able to move his army down here away, because the army had been sort of bottling in the what more or less was the main British front up here at New York. Maybe you guys aren't interested in all this. Sorry if I've lost you because of this, but just interesting to me that Cornwallis gets down here. Well, it's more up here, Yorktown, but in Virginia here. Gets down here and gets bottled up by an American French army. The French come in and are able to land the army. The French have small windows, particularly during hurricane season. They've got to get their fleets out of this part of the world, and they know the British are going to do the same. So their sugar islands, these guys down here, are there's a lot of these events popped up down here, Guadeloupe and Reunion. I can click somewhere and get it. I don't know. Martinique, where's Reunion? I don't know. But they're sugar islands. Well, and of course Haiti is major. So they're able to get their fleet up here, and so there's just small windows, and they come in and they land a French army as well. De Grasse, the admiral, French admiral, has his fleet out here, and he's able to blockade the Chesapeake Bay, which is what it is here, and drive off the British fleet, Howe's fleet, and it goes back to New York. That is an unsuccessful attack, and because of that, and Cornwallis tries to do a night evacuation across the bay to move north. That gets effed up, and he has to surrender because they're running out of food and ammunition. Yeah. And the Franco-Americans are making inroads into some of the outer defenses, but it's really mostly just running out of food and ammunition to continue the fight. And he has to surrender, and there is no French or British ability to get through the French blockade in enough time. Okay, that functionally ends the American Revolution, or the American War of Independence, which would be what the English call it, and I would agree that is the technically more correct term, is more of a war of independence as opposed to a revolution, as in overthrowing the current leadership, because much of the leadership that was in place, the elite ruling class, are the ones that are promoting, this war. I mean, there are definitely Tories that are, either some of them are born in America, many of them are, born and raised Englishmen, but that are for business and other reasons that are in America, maybe not for the lifetime, but, for years and years, at a time, that don't go for it. But I would say it's an independence war. Once Cornwallis is defeated, all effective British actions, most all of them, this guy named, what was he called? Benedict something. Benedict Arnold. Yes, you've heard of him. He does lead, because he swaps over sides. Benedict Arnold, being called that as a traitor, does do some naval raiding, I think, after Cornwallis is defeated, small ships raiding naval ports. But most all British military operations stop, and eventually even that, everything stops, and there's just the British garrison in New York. Everywhere else, they've withdrawn from America, and all land operations have stopped. American privateers are still raiding British shipping up until the end because, hey, it's good business. Get to be a pirate for profit. And you only got to turn over like 1/3 or something to the American government, to get a license to be a pirate. But basically all land operation stops. And America's, other than letting, independents to, independent operators to continue to go fighting, they stop the war and they start negotiating with the English. France and Spain in particular don't stop the war. They continue after there's peace between America and Britain. So after they signed a peace agreement, France and Britain are still at war. After Cornwallis is surrendered in Yorktown is when the Great Siege of Gibraltar starts, the sort of greatest activity, and is a Franco-Spanish joint siege, and it's the closest they ever really come to getting the British out. Even nothing. It's much less of a siege during when France and Spain are at war during the Napoleonic era wars, when they actually do go to war with each other. Much less of a thing. It's the major siege. I think this time they get Majorca or something. I'd have to check me on that. But the war continues after the original reason for fighting the war. Well, the war starts with the American colonies, but France and Britain don't also sign in on this peace treaty. It's a separate sort of peace, and the reason this is why this causes the French Revolution is off of one of these islands, de Grasse, the admiral, is defeated. So the French fleet is utterly defeated, much of it captured or destroyed, and this is what bankrupts France, because let's just say during the normal course of events, wooden ships, they're going to eventually, we still have the Constitution and it's still afloat, which is old Ironsides, made with very good oak. Is still afloat and still in commission. I think if they get repaired, I think the HMS Victory could float, but it's kept dry. But generally speaking, eventually wooden ships are going to, rot and no longer function. So you're going to have a turnover and a replacement. Whether it's like one new big ship of the line a year or whatever the normal course. But take it, the great bulk of the good ships of the line of the French Navy are just gone. And these are, in modern terms, multi-billion-dollar ships. These are the highest technology objects in existence at their time. Yes, this is in a wooden world, but there's a lot of metal objects, and these are things that take incredible amounts to build them. You know, consider like aircraft carriers. So like let's just say America was in massive debt, sort of like we are. Okay, Mr. Duck, if you come back, that would be great. But if not, I understand. You know, so let's say America was in massive debt, like we are, and let's just say all of our carriers just disappear. Boom, they're gone. Whatever reason, they're sunk, they're gone, and we've got to build new ones. And that would be hugely expensive. And that's what France has to do, is they've got to build a new fleet up, because either that or the next war, they're going to lose huge amounts of income from, you know, the Sugar Islands and trade therein and other places, because the British will just scoop them up and they'll have no recourse to get them back. So that is what bankrupts France. And yeah, if you had the right leadership, they probably could have weathered the storm, made a few different good decisions, and, you know, not, you know, put down the Paris Revolt or whatever it would have been known as, and the French monarchy, largely intact, survives with modifications to the, you know, aristocracy system. But we see the French Revolution coming out of this. We also see more recently, because I'm still on the separate piece, we had the separate piece out of the Bolsheviks versus Germany in World War I, which allows the Bolshevik Revolution to be successful. Because had they been still fighting the Germans, even marginally, they would have won the popular support, because some of the popular support for the Bolsheviks was, let's get out of this senseless war. So they would have lost popular support in everywhere, enough of it, maybe not all of their support, but they wouldn't be popular where they were popular enough. And the whites institutionally were still around, would have had a much better chance of re-establishing their control. So we've seen how this can play out. Now, I would say because the Allies win, is we see them, people not piecing out even with this, because this is still just, you know, and obviously some nations had, you know, these government in exiles. France had pieced out, but now, yeah, okay, the government in exile, which, you know, as they regain more and more territory, they become more and more legitimate. But this is sort of keeping up there, so this is good. Okay, so yes, freedom will prevail. Well, propaganda will prevail, because I don't think there's anything considered freedom in the Soviet Union. And the nationalist China, I know Arna's trying to get me back onto the game. We'll get there in a second. I don't think nationalist China is particularly free. It's not a totalitarian state like Soviet Union or something, but they're not particularly free. So yeah, whatever. Okay. Tropic Lightning Division is now ready for inspection on the Pacific Islands. Historically, the United States formed the Hawaiian Division to protect the islands. Okay. Yes, we'll do this. Roosevelt's radio broadcast, December 8, 1941. The next day, President Franklin delivered an aspiring speech to Congress. Okay, now this was what would have happened if Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, but we've gone into war. Very good. Okay, Fisher Tank Arsenal plant opened in 1942. It was originally built tanks for World War II in the Grand Plonk Fisher Tank Arsenal, and still sometimes called Tank Plant. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering how many of these. Okay, Tank Factory in Flint, Manpower, yes, Veterans Opportunity. And Arno wants to see our bombers types. Okay. Well, according to this, it's B-17 for heavy bombers. Carrier Air Group, that looks like F-4F and Grumman torpedo bomber. Heavy transport plane are the DC-4s. Flying boats, Grumman Gosling, which is a variant from the Goose. Lockheed Martin, some Neptune thing that I don't know what that is doing there, but B-25 is our medium bomber. Close air support is the A-24. Light bomber is the B-20. Fighter bomber is P-43. Twin engine is this Aracuda thingy. An interceptor is the Air Cobra. So we're not even. I don't know. I would say the P-40 is a more advanced aircraft, I presume. So that's what we're doing for those, for fighter bombers. Okay. Yeah, get that down. So putting this precedent and trying to push forward that no separate piece. But see, I don't think, we're not yet at war with Germany. We the United States. Where is it? Okay. Navy, yes. Okay. Pay, yes. 2000. Fireside chat. Tokyo Rose. Tokyo Rose is a generic game. The Pacific during approximately a dozen English-speaking female broadcasters of Japanese propaganda. However, Iva Toguri is mostly famous link name behind Tokyo Rose. She was a native of Los Angeles and was stranded in Japan because she was visiting her family. When war broke out, the intent of these broadcasts was to disrupt the morale of the Allied forces listening to the broadcast. Allied servicemen in the Pacific often listened to the propaganda broadcast to get a sense by reading between the lines of their effect on the military sanctions. She often undermined anti-American scripts by reading them in a playful, tongue-in-cheek fashion, even going so far as to warn her listeners to expect a subtle attack on their morale. She began all of her broadcasts with the catchphrase, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Now, if I have this right, she was very strong. Was one of them, and I think it's her, was a very strong American patriot who did do the broadcasts. But she would take things like bundling up food and taking them out to the American prisoner of war camps and handing it over. And she was very much working what she could do to help the American cause. But she was sort of trapped in the bad situation. And, what she was doing that was really pushing actually sort of pro-American stuff out in the propaganda. And that was recognized quietly after the war. Okay. Annual espionage focus. I think we're going to continue doing political spying. That's like what the Democrats normally do. We're a democratic government. Okay. Economic boost. We're going to go short term for more ICs. U.S. military bases. Okay, 8th Army Air Force creation. Okay, the history of the U.S. 8th Army with its aviation in Georgia, quick order. Activated. British Isles was announced, arrived in England to establish. Okay, we're going to do this. Now, I didn't know if we were going to get this as America, but we now have bombers, but we are yet. Okay, I don't know if the British may flee this airbase now. But we're not, like I say, we're not yet at war with. Let me just check and make sure we are still not at war with Germany. Oh, let's. Yeah, we're not yet at war with Germany, so I don't know why this has happened, but let's put somebody. What do these? Okay, those are pretty good things. Heavy artillery. I mean, they're not great divisions, but let's give them a decent commander here. Okay, so that gives us that. Now, or I would be bombing Germany, but we'll wait just a little bit. I will see. We 9 tank factories. Pause. Okay. Diplomacy. We could declare war, but I'm just wanting to see if they're with the. Like I've said, I've not played this, and since we sort of went to war with Japan, I want to see if Germany will declare war or something. Tropical island garrisons, excellent. Veteran, yeah, we'll take that. At some point, I think we'll use it. Getting through that. Okay, supplies, we need more. Oh, we've gone way down supplies. We need a bunch more supplies. Now, some of that might be lost in our system that we'll get back, but we'll do that. But I do want to do a bombing campaign against Germany. I'm a little surprised that event happened for a human player. Okay, establishment of the Civil Air Patrol cap. President, we have untapped potential with our many civilian pilots, and perhaps we should organize them into auxiliary forces directly Civil Air Patrol. Congressionally chartered, federally supported nonprofit corporation that serves as an official. Okay. Yeah, I know it still exists. Okay. Let's see what we got that. Was that other thing? Oh, we got. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Transport planes. Yeah, we know about those guys over there. Postal Patrol. In Rumsford. Where is this? Let's. Okay, there. Okay, well, we don't need to be flying just yet because there's nothing there. Okay, more transport. More transport. Okay, Jacksonville. The Great Lakes. Southwest. Well, that saves us a lot of building of transport planes. Okay, well, we have these guys here off of the Pacific coast. Well, for now, let's do naval strikes here, just in case there's any submarines out there. And up here in the northern, okay. We may put these out to like Hawaii eventually, but carrier damage control is advanced. Like it's grayed out though. The oh, it's maybe over here. Yeah, great. You're here. You made it down here. You're coming this way. You attack into there. Now become a regional air power. And Sweden, what does Sweden? Yes, we'll give you Sweden some energy. They're not yet on our naughty list, though. Yeah, Oh, okay. Supply transportation. We'll let that continue. These guys here. Let's bombard their ground attack. He's got hit by a bunch of fighters, it looks like. So what we're going to do here, which we probably should have done before, but move you down here, worried about basing. Okay, air intercept. There we go. Okay, well, let's stop until we get some more organization done up. You down to here. Let's keep moving you south. Any ships somewhere? Back to that soon, but let's look around. These and also efficiency. Who's blocking the what? Why isn't this moving? Ninja Army. Okay, yeah. Get our fighters working. Wasn't moving through there. They're bombing me. They're doing poorly, so we're going to go on the defensive. We've lost, yes. Get organized back up a bit more. There. Okay. No, just low infrastructure. Okay. Here we go. Midway Island. Storming Midway. So we have sooner than I thought. Sooner than I thought. Mobile unit training, advanced CAG crew training. Okay, so the war is really heating up. Okay. Yep. CAG crew mobile unit. Infantry unit training. That and Okay, well, that's a pretty big invasion fleet. And yes, I've probably been a little late in getting these guys going here. Base. Yep. We missed our best chance of being ready. We didn't break the code and know that they were coming this soon, because they did not come this soon into Midway. They came to Wake, but not Midway. Now, you fly. Oh, can you? Nope, didn't think so. But you fly to here. Now that you're here, naval strike. What are we bombing? Okay, well, that's easy to kill if we can get the ships out there. Okay, Venezuela. Well, we could sort of use the money, so I will do the copper trade. Okay, infantry unit command and control advance. Very nice. We probably will, like I said, come back to some of these 1942 texts soon, but I want to check other stuff. The infantry mobile unit fighter ground crew training. If it's at 42, we're going to keep that going, because those are a little more timely and critical. Twin engine airframe research. Right, and that was that one. Got the fighters being researched. Well, we got all those heavy bombers now in England. Let's do some heavy bomber research. Crude oil. Let's make sure we get reinforcements coming as needed. And we're going to continue to increase our officer training. Hello, Hee Hee. How you doing? Okay, so not making too much. I mean, a little bit of a dent there. Okay, taking out our marine garrison already, so that's already collapsed. That's why I sent in more. You know, let's risk our submarine fleet. No, can't quite make it to there. These are all that short-ranged. Peace out. Be closer. Well, I guess we'll base them out of here. Terrain close combat tactics. Okay, I think that is here, and it's 41, and we'll let that continue. How are we doing out here? Okay, let's go back to this. Well, fleets are moving. Carriers are going fastest. We can get out here and save this. A lot harder to retake it than it would be just to sink that damn fleet. Capital ship damage control. Okay, I guess that's grayed out, so we don't have to worry too much. Major defeat. Okay, we've lost Midway. Right, well, we've lost Midway. We're not going there anymore. We probably could have made it had I had the fleet deployed out here. Everybody learn from my mistakes. Okay, formation of the Airborne Corps. Yeah, let's do this. Midway belongs to the Japs. Uh-oh. We're being attacked out here. Well, we at least have the carriers coming. Okay, carriers. Move out to here. Have the battleships ready here yet? No, they're coming a bit slower. I knew they were slower. Yeah, that's sort why, partially why we have them separated out. Carriers from the, we do have 2 light carriers with those guys. But fighter pilot training, that's gonna, what? Yeah, we're gonna continue that. Submarines. These guys. You're gonna go right there. And you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna go right here. Start isolating that island. Cut them off from supplies. Japs take Tarawa. The Japs already had Tarawa. Tarawa. So I know where Guam is. This truck. I thought Tarawa was. We have just a Jarvis down here. Johnson Island, which, I mean, these islands are literally like that big. Some of these other things way out here, but I don't know. Tarawa is somewhere. I don't know. Kwajalein. So, a medium fuel tank research has advanced. So that is there. So that opens up all of these guys. So we're going to do flying boats with those. These guys here. See if we can do some naval striking. We found it earlier. It's probably not enough to stop them, but maybe we could disrupt them a little bit. Garrison is shattered. Oh, Attu. Attu. Uh-oh. Battle of Attu Island. Yes. Okay, so they've taken Attu. Taken Attu up there. Wow, the Japanese really are. This AI is really going, guys. Okay, sacrifice the homeland. No, we're not going to do any of that stuff. Battle for Wake Island. We've won. Okay, hold on. Pause. Okay, well, our forces are under attack over here. And, okay, twin engine ground. These guys are coming. Well, good thing we got these guys here. Well, their forces that they were attacking here were much weaker. We are going to... what can't we... won't let us... Okay, the range is not long enough. Okay, oh, we can sortie. We'll give enemy found. No, we don't want to do that. No. Okay, so... Okay, it's too far away for current range of our aircraft. Okay, good. Well, they just lost invasion force and an escort. That's what we should have been ready to do for Midway. But we saved Wake Island this time, but not Midway. Okay, hello guys. Export of aluminum. Who wants to... Soviet Union. Yes, we will trade aluminum with Soviet Union. You guys are going to go there. That what we just saw. Hopefully we have some destroyers. Yes, good. There's some anti-submarine. Now we also have a Halsey out there. And we have King. Well, that was fairly exciting. I think we're going to end this episode here. Oh. What's happening out here? Okay, they have come with something. Don't know if this was an attempt to evacuate or push us off. I don't know. Definitely going into port. Fleet carrier class advance. Okay. Let's look at that. I think that's over here. Maybe not. Where? Maybe carrier here. Yes. Hello, Sun Temple Pilot. Radio. How you doing? Yes. Talked about Tokyo Rose a bit earlier. If that's what you're going to call back to, cool. Is we still okay? Well, I'm not going to. Let's see. Don't know that I'm going to research much more up from here on carriers. So yes, because we might build some more, but I was trying to get. I don't want to keep building too much later. Hopefully we won't lose carriers or battleships. Let's do artillery brigades with that. Sinking their fleet. Okay, well, they lost 3 destroyers. Belgium. You give them money for supplies. Okay. Well, I think we are going to end this episode, not the live stream, but the episode. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Really appreciate all you guys. See you next time for more, yes, more Hearts of Iron.